Hey there, this is Daniel West for Hero Arts. I'm really excited to be able to share with you a new stamp set called We Stand With You, created in collaboration with the Stamping Village. This stamp set has so many wonderful little messages and images to help us express our heart for unity, reconciliation, and healing. We're standing together, committed to listening, learning, and change. And as part of a pledge by the Stamping Village to donate $10,000 for racial justice, 100% net profits from every We Stand With You stamp set sold will be donated to the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund. I thought it would be fun to use this 1950s television fancy die from Hero Arts to highlight our contribution to this stamp set by hearkening back to the 1969 protests for racial justice and then creating a modern 2020 version of the same scene. So I die cut this television out 6 times, twice in white cardstock for each set I'm going to create, and then once in brown cardstock. I'm going to use this coffee filter a lot. It's one of the most important tools I'll use today. And I'm going to also use Hero Arts embossing ink and Intens-ified black ink. I'm going to use the Deco Flourish bold print and the circle pattern bold prints to create different wallpapers for my different scenes. But both of them start with the inside television image. I'm going to create one in kind of a black and white vintage look and then another in full color. As I studied a bit for this project or these projects, I looked up when color television was invented. It was actually invented in the 1950s, but didn't become ubiquitous until the mid-70s. And so during the 1960s, in the 1969 time of unrest and demonstrations, most of the news coverage was transmitted in black and white. And so I'm going to use some Cup of Joe mid-tone ink here from Hero Arts and a blending brush to kind of add a vintage look to this screen for the television. I stamped out the image of the people and actually did some stamp surgery and separated the sentiment a little bit further below it so that I could make it look more like a television newscast. So here I'm just using some warm gray Copic markers to add some different skin tones and hair colors to each of these people. Then for the full color version, you've noticed I've sped this up about 1,000 times. But for the full color version, I'm using some earth tones or skin tones for different skin colors and hair colors. And I thought it was so much fun to create a diverse group of people here with different colors of skin. Copic markers are fantastic for this because you can create nearly any color that you like, any color hair, any color skin. And so I've created all of them with black shirts. And then I'm going to add some blue for the sky background. And then in just a minute, I'm going to add a title to the sentiment below. Just like on the TV, you see the little banners that come across the front of the screen. I'm going to grab a yellow, just add a stripe there, and then 3/4 of the way I'll start a red one below. It kind of looks like a news channel to me. Now I'm taking out this circle bold print here, prepping my paper for some heat embossing. And I'm going to ink this up with the embossing and watermark ink from Hero Arts. You can see I've placed all of this in my Hero Arts black MISTI. And now I'm going to actually do this a few times. I'll only show you one time because you don't need to see me do it over and over. but I do lay down a few different layers of ink here because I want my embossing to be really solid and well done. So now I'm taking some pearl embossing powder from Hero Arts and melting that on the front of this card base. I'm going to create a mask so that I can do some ink blending on the front of my card base. So I'm just cutting out one of the circles and then using the negative space to keep me from going from one circle to the next with my ink. So I'm going to mask off this section, add some dark brown in here. This is Cup of Joe ink. And following kind of a late 60s, early 70s design palette, I am going to add some brown, then orange and yellow. Next, I'm going to squeeze out some orange soda ink onto my glass mat from this little ink cube. It was so juicy, I could just put my blender brush right into it and then lay it out on my card base. After this, I will speed up the process because I'm sure you don't want to watch this in slow-mo. But you use the negative and the positive mask to go throughout the card base, coloring in each section, each circular section. And try not to do what I just did by adding too much of that Cup of Joe and crossing over into the other circle. After finishing up the coloring on this card base, I'm going to cut a strip of Chestnut cardstock from Hero Arts, and we're going to add this border for the floor, or you could say the wall. I think it's the floor. It's the trim around the floor, and then we're going to put a TV in front of it so it looks like a bit of a scene. I did this a few weeks ago on the Hero Arts blog. It's kind of the same setup, but we're using a different inside for the television. So I'm stacking these together, gluing them together with the Hero Arts Precision Glue. I'm going to add 2 white televisions, and then on top I'm going to use this Chestnut television. And then I'm going to take a Copic marker and just add some trim. This is an E79. I'm going to add the details, and then the outside I'm also going to color in with the E79. Now for the gold accents on the TV, I'm using this metallic Karen marker that came in a kit a couple months ago. Next, I'm going to add a white floor to this card front by just taking a 4 1/4 inch piece of cardstock, gluing it to the bottom, and then trimming off the excess with my Tim Holtz trimmer. Now I can adhere my TV, and this is where my camera stopped. My phone stopped recording. But the next step is just add the TV to the front and then pop in the scene, and you'll see that at the end. Next, I'm going for an Art Deco wallpaper for 2020 because Art Deco is back in style, and you'll see a lot of new design in the interior designs with Art Deco wallpapers and patterns in different areas. So I created this blue and gold wallpaper, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with the setup. Add my chestnut trim here on the bottom, add a piece of white cardstock at the very bottom, trim off all of the excess, and then pop my TV in front of it. Of course, for the 2020 version of this card, we are adding a full color television screen in here. Now on the right, you'll see that I have antenna on my television. I'm just going to grab the other piece of this die cut that I had already cut a while back, probably last year, and it was in my stash, so I just cut it out. It's part of the same retro release from Christmas last year, and I'm going to add that to the top of my 2020 set. So here we have the modern version and we have the mid-century version. They're both really fun. I hope you enjoyed them. And if you would like to get this stamp set, the description box below has links to it all. Anything that I've used here will have links in it as well. Thank you for joining me today, and if you haven't subscribed to the Hero Arts channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that button.